Hey everyone, good evening. I'm Dave and welcome. It's Wednesday, July 31st, the last day of July. The last day of July 2019. There will never ever be another July 31st, 2019. At least not in our lifetime. Well, unless they do like they do in, what's that called? Futurama, where they cut off people's heads and they store them in the vault. They might get to see that again. But that's Futurama for you. Anyway, good evening. How is everyone? Midway, we're halfway through the work week. We're not done. We got a lot more to do, so don't start slacking off now. But it is Wednesday, and it is Walking Leader Wednesday. What is Walking Leader Wednesday? It's when I read a chapter, and I kind of expand on a chapter from my good book, The Walking Leader. But we're done with that for now. We've gone through all 20 rules in The Walking Leader. Now we're starting on Great to Follow, the 20 rules to becoming a better follower and a leader that is great to follow. That's the book right there. So we're on rule number 2. Rule number 2. I love it. I love this title. When I wrote it, I knew what I was going to call it. I knew what this rule was going to be. It's called Know Your Role. That's right. So if you're you know what? It doesn't matter. Know your role. And here we go. So I've been and done many things over my military and civilian careers. I was an infantryman, a college student, a network analyst, a department head, an operations manager, a trainer. However, one thing is the same among all those titles. At the start of each job, I knew I had a place in the hierarchy, and that place was at the bottom of the organizational chart, being low man on the totem pole. That's right. So I did not start any of my jobs as the head honcho or the big cheese. Even when I was an operations manager, moved into an operation manager's position, I still didn't know everything. I still had to know where I was and how to get things going. So the operations. So here we go. So I wasn't the head honcho or the big cheese, far from it. I guess it comes from being the child of a career Army soldier. You learn rank structure pretty quickly in the military, and as a dependent, you definitely learn it. As a military family member, you learn everything has a place and an order, and in order to do that. For example, if my brothers and I did something wrong while we were on base, we usually did not get in trouble from the MPs, the military police, or the base command. Oh no, that was strictly reserved for my father. He got the brunt end of it. The next morning, he would be called to his commander's office and get his backside chewed off. He was responsible for us and our actions, and when our actions, there was 4 boys, when our actions violated base policy, well, guess what? My father was the one that was called on it. In the military and in the corporate world, they say, there's an old saying, it rolls downhill, and there's a SH in front of it. And you don't want to be at the bottom of the hill because, well, that's usually where it goes. So after the commander finished with my father, guess who was at the bottom of the hill? That's right, it wasn't him, it was us, and it was not pleasant. It never is pleasant being at the bottom of the hill. However, that is the price to pay for being the new guy in an organization or the children of a soldier that lives on a military base. Remember, bottom of the totem pole. Now, that is exactly the way it is in any organization. When a newbie, that's what we call them, the newbies, or the recruit, or the FNG, we won't go into that one, those initials, FNG, and arrives, and with a few exceptions. However, everyone knows you're going to make mistakes. Second, most everyone knows you will not learn from your mistakes until those mistakes they start to affect or are on the verge of affecting your pocketbook. That's typically when we learn our lesson, is when our pocketbooks are affected. Fortunately for my brothers and me, we learned by living on a military base. For every one of our actions, there were reactions. And by the time we left the house, we knew that we were the masters of our fate. So whatever path in life my brothers and I chose to take, it was made that much easier by clearly knowing our role. So it made things a little bit easier. So every company has positions that must be filled. Typically, the first ones to get filled are the best positions. You view it from the top down. The chief executive officer, the finance officer, the vice president, you get what I mean. And then there are those people are, it's because those people are usually the founders, the friends of the founders, or heaven forbid, a family member of the company founder. Unless you're a founder or a friend of the founder, you're probably not going to be starting at the top of the corporate ladder. That's perfectly all right. Someone has to be the big chief, the head honcho, or as we called it in the military, the HMFIC. HMFIC, just like there has to be a person that fills orders, sweeps, mops the floor, answers the phone for the CEO. That is the way the corporate ladder is built. Wide rungs at the bottom, and they get very narrow as you get closer to the top. Did I mention the rungs get very narrow at the top? If the top of the ladder, the corporate ladder, is your final destination within the organization, then you must fully understand that unless your mother is the CEO, you are not going to skyrocket to the top of the corporate ladder on your first week of employment. As someone starting out with a new company in any entry-level position, and whether you have more schooling or more experience than the guy or gal you report to, that doesn't matter, because guess what? You have to remember one thing and only one thing. Know your role. That's right. Your role is to learn. That's your job. That's what you do. You get hired, you get brought in. Sure, you might be a CPA. You might be a certified public accountant. You went to school, you got that, but if it's your first job, you have absolutely no idea how to be a CPA at that organization that you just got hired to. I came in as an operations manager for a position after I left the state the first time, and my role was to manage and lead the organization and do the day-to-day operations because the owner wanted to eventually retire. Awesome. Well, it took a while for me to get up to speed because it was an entirely different organization. I was getting into a different sector, a different market. But gave myself 30 days, got into it, and on day number 91, I dove in head first because I had to, because that's what was expected of me. The coddling and the tiptoeing around and being patient and let them get up to speed, those days were over. So understand that, yeah, you might have a high school diploma. You might just have graduated from high school. You might just graduated from college. You might just have graduated from graduate school. It doesn't make you a leader. It doesn't make you the head honcho. It doesn't make you the person in charge. You still don't know the ropes. You still don't know what it takes. And trust me, how you approach this is how you're going to find the people that are going to support you, and it's also how you're going to find the people that want to get rid of you. And in most cases, they'll find a way to get rid of you. So understand, go in with your eyes open, your ears open, your mind open, but keep your pie hole shut. You don't know everything. When you feel comfortable and you start stepping out, definitely ask questions. But again, don't go in there with, oh, well, I've got a college degree. I know more than everybody else here. Because guess what? There's always at least one person out there that knows just that much more than you. And trust me, they're going to humble you. They're going to go out of their way to humble you. And make sure you understand what the word humble means and being humbled. And if you don't, you're going to find out the hard way. So go in there, be humble, eyes open, ears open, mouth closed, ask questions, and ask the kind of questions that, hey, they're going to help you do your job that much better when it comes time, when they turn you loose. But my book. So until tomorrow, have a great evening, have a great Thursday, and we'll talk about lessons in leadership. Until then, have a good evening. I'll talk to you soon.